Hello. Where's John?
Okay, there we go.
Hi.
Change the settings so it will record everything. It will record both of us, yeah?
Yeah, now it's recording. Everything's fine. We had a bit problems with our Zoom meeting, but now everything's fine. I'm doing everything through computer. So we have today John, my teacher, because I've learned from him a lot of things about the Kambo. And I have a few questions for him because all the time when I'm doing Kambo for people, some of them asking me about the frog, like is the frog being hurt or something like that. So all the things you know the best, because how long you are doing this, John?
I've been receiving Kambo for about 10 years and I've been a practitioner for 5 years.
Yeah, so that's a long time to work with it. And I know that you're feeling Kambo spirit every day with you.
Absolutely.
So for those people who never done the Kambo and they struggling and they don't know like to do it or not, sometimes they're afraid of all the process as well. So could you explain a bit like what Kambo is? Should we be afraid of it or how you're thinking?
Okay, so Kambo is the secretion of a particular frog that comes from the Amazon jungle. So it's the giant monkey frog or the Phylomedusa bicolor frog. That's the technical name for the frog. The frog has a secretion on its skin that does various things for the frog. It protects it from microbial invasion. It keeps predators away. It moisturizes its skin and it also acts as a sunblock. So it protects the frog's skin. But within this secretion, there are peptides, which are basically small proteins. And these peptides have a very powerful effect on the human brain and body. So for centuries, indigenous tribes people have been taking the secretion from the frog, scraping it from its back and using it as a medicine. So that's essentially what Kambo is. It's an animal-based product. It's the secretion from a frog, and the indigenous people scrape it from the frog, they put it onto flat sticks and they let it dry, and then they can store it and keep it. And that's what Kambo is. The way that Kambo is applied is it has to go through the skin. So in order to apply it, you have to make a very small burn on the skin, a very superficial burn with a hot stick. You touch a hot stick to the skin for a split second, you take it off, and then you rub that wound with a tissue. And then what you'll have is a blister, and underneath that blister, it's the dermis, or it's a white layer of skin underneath the top layer. So it's just the top layer that comes off. There's no blood drawn or anything like that. And then when you apply the secretion to the wound, the Kambo is able to enter the body through the lymphatic system. And that's how Kambo enters the body. The process itself can be unpleasant. When you're new to Kambo as well, it can be maybe a bit scary because you don't know what's going to happen. But once you've done Kambo once and then twice and then a few times, you do get to know the process quite well. You start to, you know exactly what's going to happen. And the more you do it, what I've found is it becomes actually more pleasant. And the method that I use or that we use is different to what most people, it's different to how most people use it. And it makes the process much more pleasant. And I personally, when I do Kambo, it's really not unpleasant for me at all now. It's mildly, it starts off really nice. It gets mildly uncomfortable in the middle, and then I feel great after. So it's not a brutal process, and it shouldn't be like that, actually. That's something I've come to realize is it shouldn't be. It's not supposed to be a horrible process.
Yeah, for me, it was the same. Like first time, I was not even focusing on my intentions, why I'm here. because all the time I was thinking like, oh my days, what's happening? Why it's feeling so tingling? And you're thinking all the time about the body, you know, what's happening for you, not about why you are here, like in this process. So like you saying, when you're doing once or twice, you're getting no better and you know what to expect, like when you're doing it. So more you can focus with your intention and work in the spiritual way as well, like not like cleaning physically and detoxing your body.
Correct.
So,
that's right.
So yeah, I understand you fully. And how you yourself, how you get in touch with Kambo, like what was the story of how you get into it? Like
so I went to an ayahuasca retreat many years ago. I forget exactly when it was, probably about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. And they offered Kambo at the retreat, and I'd never heard of it before, and I did it there. And I found some benefit from it, and I started doing it periodically after that. And then in 2017 we set up Planet Kambo. So it was a sort of 5 years from when I first did it, give or take, to then setting up Planet Kambo.
Yeah, so you felt like a calling, for it, like you want to work with it and all the things. And how you can ensure that no harm is done for the frog? Like, have you seen yourself how it's everything, all the process happening? Because I've got not the one message of saying in discussion, like how you can do that, like this is the frogs and like you're doing harm for it, like they're feeling pain or so that's why they like saying no for Kambo healing, because maybe they believe that it's helping, but they want to save the frog from what they're experiencing. So what you thinking about that?
I personally haven't been to the jungle, so I know how they extract it. I've seen videos, I've seen pictures, but I've never been there myself yet. I haven't been there yet to see it happen. But one thing I would say is the people that you're having these conversations with, they are Western people, right? The people that collect the Kambo are indigenous, right? So the indigenous people have been working with the forests for centuries. Sorry, it's my alarm going off. Have been working with the forest for centuries, and they wouldn't do anything to harm the frogs. So they have to, yes, the frogs are captured. That's one thing. And the frogs are very tame. They've got no natural predators, so that you can pick them up. They're very, very tame. And then you can, if you Google it, you can find pictures. They essentially tie the frog's arms and legs out like that, and then they scrape the secretion from the frog's back. Now, as I said, they've been doing this for centuries, and they're the guardians of the forest. So they look after the forest, and the forest gives back to them through food and medicine. And Kambo is one of the medicines that the forest gives back to the tribes people. Now, for me, those indigenous people are in a much better position to know whether they're doing the right thing or not than a vegan person who lives in the West. Because the vegan person that lives in the West has a whole load of ideas and dogma about veganism and what have you, when they're not actually in touch with what's going on. So I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying their view is very limited and it's very one-sided. So it's difficult, but for me, indigenous people that have grown up in that culture, that live in the jungle, that use the medicines and also hunt, right? So indigenous people are not vegan. Veganism is not a thing in nature. It only exists in the West, right? It's a new thing, veganism. It doesn't exist. It hasn't existed in history. It doesn't exist in nature. It's a movement based on the fact that we have such choice and convenience with supermarkets and everything, that we're able to make that choice. Indigenous people are not vegan. It's just not a thing. So for them, hunting in the jungle, is a sacred act. All of these things are sacred acts. Hunting, killing an animal, taking it home to feed their family, that's a normal, natural thing for them to do, and it's a sacred act. Using ayahuasca, using all these different medicines in the forest, using Kambo, these are all sacred acts. These are activities that have been passed down through generations for centuries. That's come from you know, the legend of Kambo is that it came to a shaman in an ayahuasca vision. That's the story, that the spirit of the forest showed him how to do it. So again, going back to the original point, is that for me, I personally believe that those people are more in touch with what's correct and what's not correct in what to do with the frogs and with the forest than a vegan person that lives in the West. So yeah, it's again, and also it just it depends on your, if you're a vegan, what your position is. If your position is I just don't eat meat, or is your position I will never use any product that has anything to do with an animal, it's two different things. So it really does depend on, and if somebody doesn't want to, it's totally fine. If somebody says I don't want to use any products that's ever come from an animal, that's totally fine, and that's that person's, you know, decision. But it's my understanding that the indigenous people would not hurt the frogs. They just wouldn't. It wouldn't. There's no reason for them to do it.
They're like releasing them back to the jungles, isn't
100%.
it? And they're like recovering themselves after
Correct.
2 days, like, or 24 hours, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So when it's done correctly, so when it's done correctly, when the indigenous do it, the tribes do it, and they know what they're doing. That's not to say there isn't Kambo extractions that go on that are not done by indigenous people, or not indigenous is the wrong word, but not done by people that know what they're doing, the tribes people. That's done by other people that are trying to make money. Yes, that's possible, and that does go on. But it's going to be, any sector is going to have that. You know, you're going to have cowboys trying to make money. So all we can do is just try to make sure that our Kambo comes from the right sources.
Yeah, not from eBay or like whatever. Yeah, like from the you get yours,
like,
isn't it?
Even eBay, it's nothing right as long as because I'm sure at the end of the day, tribes need money, right? This is the thing. They live in poverty, essentially.
Of course, we're living in the social, like,
yeah. We have an idea about indigenous people live this, you know, this romanticized idea about how they live. They live in poverty, so they need to make money as well. And if they've got access to the internet, I'm sure they probably sell their wares on you know, sites like eBay. So yeah, it's really about just finding a good source and then getting your Kambo from them. But in my opinion, I personally, I'm not a vegan, but I also don't think it's I think it's the way it's supposed to be, because that's the message that the forest gave to the indigenous people. Was this is what you're supposed to do. This is how, you know, Kambo is a thing that you're meant to do. So I think that there's a symbiotic relationship between the people in the forest and the frogs in the forest. And to say that the frogs don't like it, again, is what I would call anthropomorphizing. I think that's the word, where people put human traits on animals. So frogs are amphibians. Do you know what I mean? They're reptiles, but you can put, you know, you can see the frog and imagine what it's like if it was a human being and the human being's being tied up. It's not the same thing. It's, you know, so I like to think that the frogs are kind of, what's the word? Can't think of the right word. Compliant in that they want to give their secretion to the humans. That's what I think personally.
Yeah, because I think so. If you would tie them up, you could see that they, like, I think so, they want to escape or something. But when once I think so, you tidying up them, they just relaxing. It looks like from the pictures or something.
They're very
just
docile.
take it off and let me go. You know?
Yeah, apparently they're very docile, and you can pick them up. They're very tame. They said they don't have any predators, so they've got nothing to worry about. So they're quite tame.
Yeah, so that was the main question, because all the time I know that this is the message from the jungles, from the Kambo spirit, but all the time I was confused, and then I started to think, like, why I'm doing this, like, seriously, like, you know, Kambo for the people, for myself, for going this path. But then I'm catching myself that there is like 100 people who goes into it, and just the one person texts me the message, like, how you can do this, like you hurting the frog, and And, you know, like one in front of 100, like you're saying, there's a lot of groups as well, like vegan, which never gonna eat or wear, you know, what will be attached with animal. So,
but again, I don't know this person, but that.
Stuck. One minute, what happened? So yeah, you're back now. Your internet, yeah, fix your internet.
Yeah.
Where you live in the mountains.
No, do you know what? It's normally fine. I have no idea why it suddenly got off, but there you go.
All right. Okay, so we have not too much time left because it's letting me to record just 40 minutes. And I have just.
You might find it. My experience with Zoom is it lets you record a bit more sometimes.
All right.
Just see if it gives you a warning, it will tell you before it's going to cut off. So.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, so the second question I had for you, like, how did you, how to say, the Kambo process method, basically your method is different from what we're seing in the YouTube or something, yeah. And what is the difference and why your method is much better than the other method?
Yep. So I always did it the other way. So the tradition is the way that you're referring to is the Brazilian way of doing it, which is how everybody does it, and it's the way I learned how to do it. And that's where you drink a lot of water before the Kambo is applied. I did it this way up until about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, and then I discovered another method. It's how some of the Peruvian tribes do it, and they don't call it Kambo, they call it sapo, and sapo just means frog or toad in Spanish. And when they do it, they don't drink any water. So I tried it that way without water.
Yeah.
But then what happened was I reached the point in the process where I felt like I wanted a purge, but I couldn't because there was no water. So at that point, I drank the water and then I purged. But what I found was when you don't consume the water at the beginning, the process is completely different. It's so much more pleasant, really, really pleasant compared to when you have the water. When you drink the water at the beginning, it's horrible all the way through. You feel sick. It's just awful. And I hated doing it. Without water, actually, it's a blissful process, and it allows you to go really deep and really focus on what you're feeling rather than being distracted by this horrible nausea. So the method that, you know, that became obvious to me was correct, was to combine the Brazilian method and the Peruvian method. You don't drink the water at the beginning, but you drink the water towards the end when you're ready, because I still like to purge, you know. And to me, it's obvious that's the best way to do it. I mean, it's absurd. I can't see why you do it any other way. Why would you drink 1.5 liters of water at the beginning when you don't actually need it at that point? It just makes you feel sick. So yeah, it's like once I started doing it that way, it became so obvious to me that this was the best way to do it. And I've done it with so many people that have done it the other way, and they all say the same thing. This was so much better.
I can say the same thing. Yeah, that's really like easier way.
It's not even close.
It's like a block, you know, like when you're drinking 2 liters before the Kambo is applied, you're feeling like, I don't know, like a pillow, you know, inside. It's really uncomfortable.
I agree. It acts as a block to stop you really experiencing what Kambo is all about. Kambo is actually very gentle and very subtle. So when you do it without water, you're able to really focus on what's coming up in the experience. When you've drank 1.5 liters or 2 liters of water, you can't, because you're just dealing with this horrible unpleasantness. So you can't focus on the feelings of what Kambo is, you know, the subtle feelings inside the body. You just have to just sit in this nausea. So when you do it without water, then it becomes a very nuanced, very detailed and delicate process that may bring up certain things, emotions, thoughts, feelings to you in order for you to process them. That doesn't happen, or never happened for me with water. Then it was just a very much a physical, nauseous experience. Without water, it's much more versatile and what's the right word? Spiritual, energetic experience. And for me, it's the right way to do it. It's the only way to do it. To do it any other way doesn't make any sense to me.
What you're doing with those people who are like they stuck in their emotions, like, and when you're seeing that it's for them really, really hard, the Kambo process is, like, you know what I mean? When they're starting to do it and they're just getting terrified, and then they're forgetting like why they came here, and like what you're doing, how you're calming down.
I mean, so the first few times you do it, that's normal. I mean, you're not going to do Kambo and just be amazing at doing it. It's going to happen. People are going to do it. They're going to be overwhelmed. That's fine. You just help, just let them go through their process. But the more you do it, it is like a skill. You get better at doing it. So when I do Kambo myself now, I'm able to meditate through it. I can sit very still. I can lay down. I can breathe. I know what to do. And I'm able to go through the process very comfortably because I don't resist it. It's the other thing as well. Kambo is about non-resistance. And I've actually recently recorded a couple of videos about the process. Maybe we could link them in the description for this video. And also I've written an article about non-resistance. It's another thing that I've discovered with Kambo is actually, it's not really about dosage. It's about your own internal resistance. If you can relax in the process, you don't actually need to use very much at all. You can use less Kambo and get the same result by letting go and really, really allowing it in rather than fighting against it. And another thing with the water is when you drink the water first, you cannot relax and let go. You are automatically resisting immediately because you can't not resist when you feel that sick. So by not drinking the water, it allows you the choice. That's another thing, is it allows you choice of when you drink the water. If you make somebody drink the water at the beginning, you're forcing something on the process. You're forcing an outcome on the process. And what you should do is just do it. And then you have the option to drink the water when you feel it's necessary, when you need it, which is how it should be. And then it becomes a very, very different process. And it's not something to be feared. And it's really not that bad, to be honest with you. Not that bad. So if people are worried about it, I would say if you work with a detail or do it in this way, it's really, really not that bad. It might be a little bit overwhelming the first time because you don't know what's happening. But after that first time, you'll know exactly what's coming. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more relaxed you can be, the less you need. And then it becomes, like for me, it's quite a pleasant process for me now. It's really not that bad at all.
How often are you doing for yourself?
It varies. I just do it whenever I feel like I need it, to be honest with you. Sometimes I do it every week for a while. Sometimes I do it 2 or 3 days on the trot, and then I might not do it for months. I just, go with how I feel.
When you're feeling the calling and when you feel that you need it. Like,
that's right, yeah.
And the people sometimes, they're lost, like what kind of healing to choose when they're going through depressions, anxiety, and they just don't know what to choose. So why the Kambo, with your opinion, is good for it? Like why they should choose the Kambo, not rather than, I don't know.
Yeah.
Really.
What, for depression, for specifically for what? Like depression and anxiety, or what do you mean?
Like for some kind of things like depression and anxiety, because the more I noticed that there's a lot of people who are more in depressions because of their routine or traumas from the past, like. Yeah.
Okay. So as with all of these kinds of medicines, it may or may not help. There's no guarantee, right? Kambo does different things for different people. It depends also why they have depression. If there's some stuck emotion that's giving that's under the surface that they need to feel that they haven't felt, Kambo can help to bring that to the surface, definitely. But it's difficult to say, it will definitely do this or it will definitely do that. but I always tell people it's worth a try for sure to see. It's definitely worth trying Kambo. I mean, it has an analgesic effect. Like, you do feel good after doing Kambo for sure. 100% you do feel good. It definitely has a neuroprotective aspect to it. So it helps preserve receptors in the brain. But it's because it's not a pharmaceutical drug that's been designed to do one thing. I can't say, okay, you should, if you've got anxiety, come and do Kambo because it's going to do this, and this is the result you'll get. You can't do that. But I always tell people it may help. It may help. It's definitely worth a try to see if it resonates with you. And then, but yeah, it's the same with any plant medicine or product in this fashion. There's no guarantees. There's no official things that it does. It's just you take it. It goes to where it's needed.
I think so. Depends from yourself, isn't it? Like how you will be open for it, for the medicine, because you can do like all of them, but you still can stay in your depression because you're resisting it, and like, you know, it just
correct. It also depends why they have depression. If somebody has a genuine chemical imbalance in the brain that requires medication, I don't think Kambo will fix it. And there are people that have that. You know what I mean? There are people that need antidepressants because they have a deficiency in the brain or a chemical imbalance in the brain that cannot be fixed. You know, and I mean, Kambo may help, but I think, but if it's an emotional, there's an emotional component to it, and there's something that they're not allowing to the surface. So if we've got loads of stuck emotions, that can cause anxiety, depression. Then a course of Kambo can definitely help to bring some of that stuff up for sure. But it's just one of those things where you just have to try it and see what it does for you.
I think so. You should try not the once, because like I told you,
Correct.
first time you're feeling and you're thinking just about your body. So you might be confused. Like, you know, is it helping? You know, where am I? You know, in which place I am. So for the second and third time, I think so you are more aware, like what to expect, and you can go deeper into your problems, depression, like if it's simple depression, you know, from when you're doing nothing, you know, for some people.
Yeah, it's recommended to do it 3 times. If you're new to it, you've never done it before, we say do it 3 times relatively quickly, and then that's your foundation. And then from that, afterwards, you can make a decision about whether it's working for you. But if you do it once, sometimes after the first time, you don't really feel any different. So
yeah,
it's good. Definitely, we say 3 times.
Because some people who came for me like a first time, they're thinking how many times I should do it. But I'm telling them all the time that it's like it's a medicine, you know. It's like a vitamins you need to drink constantly, so to feel the effect. So the Kambo you should do as well, like once a week, once a month, whatever you feel.
Whatever it be, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Do it. So we say do it 3 times quickly, and then after that, to just do it periodically, whatever that be, whether it's once a month or once every 3 months or whatever it is that you feel you'd like to do it, and then do it in that way.
Yeah, and I know that you know how to explain really nicely, like what the Kambo does for your body inside with all the gallbladder and all the things.
Yeah.
So
you want me to explain? Okay.
Yeah. Please.
So the peptides that are in the Kambo, what they do is they trigger a healing response in the body. So when you get flu, for example, the symptoms of the flu, such as vomiting, diarrhea, fever, they are not caused by the flu itself. That's the body trying to get rid of the virus. So the fever, the vomiting, the diarrhea, those are things that the body does in order to get rid of a virus. The body initiates that process. When you take Kambo, what Kambo does essentially is it just triggers that same process in the body. So it's like a short and intense flu. That's what Kambo is doing. So it pushes those buttons in the brain. It switches that part of the brain on. The brain makes the process happen. Kambo is actually a messenger. It just tells the brain to do that. And then what happens is the glands in the body start to secrete. The gallbladder gets flushed. So we have something called bile made in the body, made by the liver, stored in the gallbladder. It's used to digest fat. When you eat food with fat in it, bile gets released into your digestive system. It's a liquid, and that breaks down the fat so it can be absorbed. And when you do Kambo, the gallbladder flushes. So all the bile that's in the gallbladder gets flushed. It cleanses it out. And that's why you feel so nauseous when you do Kambo, and then you need to vomit the bile. It causes contraction of the gut, smooth muscle of the gut. So that can bring on the need to go to the toilet. I've also even had people that have actually started secreting from their eyes. So like, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you've got like sleep in what they called it, sleep in your eye. I've had people that have had like yellow gunk coming out from the corner of their eye during the process. So all the glands in the body start to secrete and cleanse. So that's kind of what's going on in terms of that. In terms of the cleanse, that's what's going on. It's causing this expulsion of fluids and, you know, toxins and things.
Everywhere where it should be with the frog eyes, isn't it?
Oh, the frog face, yeah. That's just tissue permeability in the face gets increased. So fluid just starts to go to the face. That's all it is. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, all the questions been answered.
Right.
Even I knew all the things as well, but I know that you are working more years with it, and you can explain with the details, you know.
Yeah, sure.
I'm really happy that you are here, and you open for somebody else, like that they should go for it, and maybe after this video they will feel that I can do it.
Yeah, you can. You totally can.
Of course,
it's all in the mind anyway. It's once you do it and you're in it, you're fine. It's only beforehand when you're thinking about it that makes it seem worse than it actually is.
Yeah, that's true. Is anything else you would like to say for the people who are watching us now?
What do I like to say? Just to reiterate that Kambo can actually be a pleasant process. It really can. So I would say if you've done it before and you've done the other method, or you've never done it before and you've read horror stories, give it a try. Give it a try with Adita, and you'll see that actually it can be a very blissful and invigorating experience. And it really is. It really, really is. And it's really, the unpleasantness is short-lived. If you do it this way, this method that I've explained, it's really only, if it's going to be unpleasant, it's usually 5 to 10 minutes before you actually purge. It gets a bit uncomfortable. But other than that, it's quite blissful. Yeah,
because when I'm realizing like how many people they come to you to learn it, and how many retreats you had, and how many people done it. So it's just not fitting in my head. Like so many people comes to you like every month, isn't it? Like to learn it. So it's like it looks for me like half of the planet are like Kambo warriors, you know. So yeah, it's really, really nice thing, and nice to know that the Kambo spreads now in this time.
Absolutely.
More and more.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to, you know, talk to me or ask me questions, then just send me an email, info@planetkambo.com. I'm always happy to answer questions or have a call like this to discuss. Not a problem.
So yeah, thank you all for that. I'm not disturbing you anymore. It was really nice to see your face again.
Pleasure.
And I hope so to see you in your retreat upcoming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that there's magic that happens.
It does.
So yeah, thank you one more time. Have a nice day for everybody as well, and see you soon. Bless you. Thanks.
Bye.